Welcome to our funeral. This is Championship Rings. This is a Thursday. This is May 15, 2025.
We should be playing game 6 right now. We should be playing game
Go
6
ahead, sir.
in Indianapolis. We should be playing game 6 with us up 3-2, Indiana fighting for their playoff lives with the potential of game 7 on Sunday. Hell no, that didn't happen because the Pacers won 5 games in Cleveland this season. They won both regular season games here in Cleveland, and they won games 1, 2, and 5 here in Cleveland. We got punked in game 4 in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I don't care what anybody says. Jalen, Sean, my friends Chris, Colin, Brandon. Sorry, not you.
Not me.
My friends Chris, Colin, Ben, anybody. This season is a complete and total failure. 64 wins. First Central Division title since the 2017-2018 season. First time you get the number 1 seed since the 2016 season. Oh yeah, that's the season where you won the NBA Finals. You have the Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley. Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson. Fans are drooling over the prospect of you facing the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Fans and media members alike are saying the Cavaliers are the number 1 threat to the Boston Celtics for an NBA championship. And you go out like that? I'm sorry. This season is a complete and total failure. You and nobody else will convince me otherwise. This season is a complete and total failure. I get that we had the injuries with Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter. But even with that, this season is a complete and total failure.
So, Josh, what did I tell you last week when we did our show at the time the Cavaliers were down 2-0? And you mentioned the word that if the Cavaliers did not win this series, that the season was going to be a total failure. And I said, well, it depends on the severity of the injury situation. You know, does Garland, Mobley, Hunter, etc., do they miss the rest of the series? Because that changes things narratively wise. Obviously, they both came back game 3, game 4, game 5. They played. The Cavs lost 2 out of 3 games. And no, the injuries are not an excuse. And no, Donovan Mitchell's injury is not an excuse either, quite frankly, to be honest with you. I'm going to use a different word than failure, though it is of the same family, if you will. Because failure, and while I sort of agree with you, I do feel like it's like hate, right? It's a very strong word.
That's how I feel about the Indiana Pacers now. Remember how last season, after we lost that second round series to the Boston Celtics, I told you I had a playoff grudge against them? Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Guess what? That grudge is now extended to the Indiana Pacers. So I have a playoff grudge against the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, and the Indiana Pacers.
Which those 2 teams are respectively number 2, number 3, and number 4, at least seed-wise in the East this season. Okay, so I'm going to get to the word that I'm going to use. And the word is this: wasteful. Me, you, every Cavs fan, Northeast Ohio or outside of Northeast Ohio, wasted 7 months of our lives watching this team. And so, yeah, the season was a waste. Again, you use a more strongful version of it. I'm just going to say flat out that it was wasteful. And in my opinion, it does not matter now what the Cavs do in the regular season next year, if they keep this core intact, which we'll get to in a minute. I don't care if they go 82-0 and beat every team by 30 points. It is absolutely meaningless because this team now has a reputation of being soft in the postseason. And if you were to tell me that a week ago, after the Cavs have literally beaten the Miami Heat by a record NBA playoff series margin that nobody had ever achieved before, that in a week's time after that, the Cavaliers would be eliminated, and it was mostly their fault because pretty much in game 2 and game 5, they had the game under control and they just did not play well in the second half. And it looked like to me in the second half of game 5, once Indiana started making their comeback in the second quarter and they got it down to 4 by halftime, I knew the game was over at that point. The Cavs looked like they'd given up. Obviously, nobody could get a basket. And I'll get into more of who to blame in a second, but this is absolutely a wasteful season.
100%. If we do bring back our core 4, Max Strus cannot be the starting small forward. It has to be DeAndre Hunter. If you want to bring Max Strus off the bench as like the 6th man, I'm cool with that. But Ty Jerome did nothing this series. Isaac Okoro gave you nothing. Where was our bench this entire series? That was one of our strengths throughout the year, and they couldn't do anything for us. Outside of DeAndre.
That was supposed to be the edge the Cavs had in this series. Is they said it, I think, going into the series on television. I know you weren't watching game 1 on TV. You were down at the arena. But they said, the Cavs are the best bench in the NBA. Indiana probably has the second best. But overall, Cleveland's is head and shoulders number 1.
Right. And that didn't come to fruition. But Indiana's bench sure came through for them. Obi Toppin, Ben Mathurin, TJ McConnell, they all contributed. I can't say anyone off our bench besides DeAndre Hunter really contributed.
Jerome gave you a spark in game 5 at the end. That's about it. He did keep the Cavs in the game somewhat. I mean, he was the only one that could make a shot. Max Strus went 0 for 9 from the field or whatever he went after texting the group chat that if you don't believe, don't show up to work tomorrow, and that Max Strus lays literally a 0 burger in game 5. You're right about one thing. You can't have Max Strus in the starting lineup. You can't have him on this team anymore. Get Max Strus off this team. And I've defended Max Strus the last 2 years because what he did in that 2023 finals run with the Miami Heat,
which is why the Cavs wanted him on this team.
To no show like that, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to Strus. The lights got too bright for him. Get him off the team.
Yes.
I
feel the same way sorry to cut you off, but I feel the same way about Isaac Okoro.
Sure. Is Okoro under contract next year? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, I didn't realize this, but apparently we gave him like a 3 or 4 year contract extension for $10 mil a year.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that's news to me. I did not hear that.
So I'll double check on that.
Yeah, 3 years, $33 million.
Yeah. What did he do?
He is under contract for 2 more seasons after that. He's actually going to make $11 million next year, which, to be honest with you, based off the NBA salary cap situation in today's NBA, is not terrible. It's like 6 or 7 million 5 years ago, with inflation, if you will, the NBA cap. But Okoro's got to go. We agree on that. So here's where I'm at, Josh.
I know you think we should trade Darius Garland. I know that's your big thing.
Well, let me say this. There's 2 factors here. Number 1 is last year you blamed the coach and the same issues happened. So it's not the coach. So in my opinion, you can't run this back because you already tried it with a new coach. Now you're not going to blame the coach. Now you have to shake up the roster. And the other thing is, and this is what I'm so freaking scared of, because I'm going to tell you something. Is there a world where the Cavs brass sits back and they go, well, and we're going to talk about this in the next segment, because of the injury to Jayson Tatum in Boston, he's probably likely going to be out all of next year. So do they sit back and go, well, our number one threat in the East is pretty much not going to be at full strength next year? The Indiana Pacers, can they really do this again, even though it's their second straight Eastern Conference championship? Did the Knicks overachieve this year potentially, whether they make the ECF or the NBA Finals? And do the Cavs just say, well, we saw the Nuggets be patient, run it back, and won them a championship. We saw Boston somewhat be patient, run it back, won them a championship. Same thing with Golden State in 2022. I am scared to death that Kobe Altman just sits back and goes, you know what, we're going to be patient and we're going to run this back.
And I understand that. By the way, just to address one of the elephants in the room, I'm not going to say yes or no on your statement of trading Darius Garland because I see it both ways. I completely understand your perspective on it, but at the same time, I feel like him and Donovan Mitchell did end up figuring it out to a certain extent anyway this season. So
the problem I have, and again, I like DG as a player a lot, the last 3 postseasons. And this is the same for Jared Allen, too, who I would love to get rid of as well at this point, but I don't know if they could find a trade partner for Jared Allen either, because he's making pretty much max center money the way Darius Garland's making max point guard money. And so the reason why I say trade DG is because he's been hurt the last 3 postseasons. He has not played well the last 3 postseasons. And in a series, whether it's been the Knicks in the first round, Boston in the second round, or now Indiana in the second round, when he is out there on defense, the other team is hunting him. And when he's not making shots, and when it's been Donovan Mitchell hero ball isolation, and DG is a liability on defense, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, let's make Mitchell the distributor, and let's go get a bigger. And I use this player as an example. I'm not saying go get this player, but go get like a Klay Thompson-esque 6'7", big shooting guard, 3-and-D guy. Because what makes Golden State so good is that, yes, Steph is only, 6'2", 6'3". We know he's a liability on defense. But during their dynasty, they've always backed him up with Draymond and Klay and whoever, Andrew Bogut, Iguodala. Big wings and big defenders. That's what the Cavs need to get if you're going to keep Garland, but they have 2 small guys because Garland and Mitchell are the same height.
I think that was part of their thinking when they made the trade for DeAndre Hunter, but he didn't end up being that defensive stopper that they envisioned him to be. But yeah, again, I totally understand what you're saying about DG, and I saw the same thing. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I liked the chemistry that him and Donovan Mitchell were formed this season. And I loved the pick and roll that they were doing with Evan Mobley throughout games. So I don't know if I want to mess with that. But again, I understand your overall point, and I agree with you on the defensive end. You saw throughout the regular season when we played Boston, what did they do? They constantly tried to get Darius Garland onto Jayson Tatum so he could exploit that matchup. So totally agree with you. Not quite on the same page.
Here's the other problem. Is I don't know, and for some reason nobody's talking about 2 things, but I want to hammer on this first. During the last few minutes of Game 5, when the Cavs needed a defensive stop, Jared Allen was not on the court, which tells me I think he's pretty much good as gone if they can find a trade partner.
Yeah, we need to get a if we're going to keep Jared Allen, and that's a big if, I would say, we need to get a backup big because
a legitimate backup big, not Tristan Thompson and not sliding Evan Mobley to the 5. Again, I use the Golden State example of a guy like when they back in their dynasty day, they have like a Festus Ezeli and Andrew
David
Bogut,
West.
David West, somebody, and they don't have to give you big minutes. I'm even like, I don't know if he's still in the league. He's one of my favorite players ever, even though he never gets any minutes. My man crush on Bull. Like, go get somebody that can give you 5 minutes of basketball who can just hard foul. During game 5 in the second half, I'm like, Kenny, put in Tristan Thompson for 2 minutes and let him commit 6 fouls. Like, this team was not ready for physicality, man.
No, Siakam and Miles Turner were just having their way with the Cavs down low. I know Miles Turner isn't your traditional big man, but he sure
he is in today's NBA.
True. That part is true.
I'm gonna throw one more thing, and this is where I know we're gonna disagree, but I'm gonna throw it out there.
Go ahead.
I am not giving Donovan Mitchell a pass for Game 5.
Neither
I thought Donovan Mitchell had a terrible game, and I'll be honest with you. Outside of the Miami game this series and outside of the Orlando Magic series in Game 7, I think the last 3 years he's had terrible postseason showings for the Cavs. And I am legitimately starting to question. I didn't text you this, and I didn't text our good buddy Jalen this. I texted some other people this. You know what was my first text to people after we lost? It wasn't, oh, F this team, that, trade this guy. You know what it was? Pull a Draymond Green and go call LeBron in the parking lot. And don't get here for the minimum. Because I'm not so sure Donovan Mitchell was the number one on a championship team. Because I think Donovan Mitchell sometimes in big games and big moments shrinks.
I mean, dude, when he was in Utah, he was the number 1 seed. Lost to the LA Clippers in the conference semifinals. Donovan Mitchell led teams, whether it's been in Utah or here in Cleveland, never made the conference finals. Not once. So,
and he's had good teams. And I think this is one of the reasons why Utah traded him. And Mitchell's amazing. And some nights, I swear to God, he's Dwayne Wade 2.0, which is funny because that's what Wade said when he was at the one-time minority owner. He may still be, I don't know, of the Utah Jazz. But I'm like, and I know they can't do it because, like I said, because of cap situations, you would have to sign for the minimum. And I'm not this fanboy saying, oh, bring back LeBron because LeBron's been here and he'd be the savior and yada, yada, yada. No, like, I'm saying bring back LeBron because he's the exact type player you need.
He's not leaving LA
he's not at all. I completely agree with you. But in order for this team to get over the hump, I mean, dare I say, I don't know, do you dangle something out there for Kevin Durant? I don't know.
No.
Do you dangle something out there for Giannis? Do you try? I don't know.
I don't. It's so hard. I don't know if I want that Kevin Durant drama here in Cleveland when we already have to deal with Shedeur Sanders and number 4 for the Cleveland Browns.
You know what? I disagree with you on Durant's drama because ever since the torn Achilles, since he's been in Phoenix and really Brooklyn, he hasn't been part of the drama since he came back. I mean, Phoenix, he's been no drama. He's been the guy just hooping. It's been the team around him that's been a disaster.
That part I agree with, but if you trade for Kevin Durant, you're going to get all those bells and whistles. Generally, that's part of his history, and that's part of his baggage. You can't just escape that.
All right, let's talk about this individual. Man, what a sad moment. I've been hard on Jayson Tatum. As you know, we've had many battles over number 0 of the Boston Celtics, but this is unfortunate. Tatum is, as much as I like to say, he's one of the most overrated superstars in the game. He is one of the best players in the game. I hate the fact that these NBA playoffs, whether it is the Cavs injuries, whether it is Steph Curry, whether it is Jayson Tatum, seeing all these stars go down, I absolutely hate it. And I've talked about this at length. I think part of the reason is because these NBA playoffs go too long. They give guys too many days off early as opposed to later in the series when they need them. But listen, I mean, I think Boston's done. I don't think they're winning this series. I do think the Knicks are going to probably wrap it up tomorrow night. But the Celtics are in a very interesting situation here because if they do flame out here early in 6 and they're not as good as we think they could be next year, and it sounds like they're going to move off some pieces because of some salary cap implications.
Plus, on top of that, they have a new ownership group that didn't put this team together. So,
like I said, it does sound like this could be the last version of the Celtics that we know, and a team that looked like they could be a dynasty, could be one and done the way Milwaukee and Denver seemingly have been. But Jayson Tatum's legacy is a very interesting situation here because, as I mentioned, if Boston does go down a little without him, it will increase his value and it will help people like your argument that Tatum is the centerpiece around this team. He is the 1A type guy. But if the Boston Celtics, by some miracle, which I don't know how people have not talked about this scenario yet, if they do come back in this series against the Knicks and they win Game 6 and they win Game 7, and for the sake of argument, let's say they beat Indiana and get to the NBA Finals, well then Jayson Tatum's legacy is going to take a little bit of a hit, and it's unfortunate, and he's going to be a very, pro favorite crowd guy like Kevin Durant was when he came back from his torn Achilles because nobody likes to see anybody get hurt. But Jayson Tatum's almost lore in Boston Celtic realm is being decided when he's not on the court by team success.
When I saw this happen, I knew right away it was like an ACL or an Achilles. Because you just know when it's a non-contact injury like that.
When I saw the non-contact and when I saw him grab right below his heel, I kind of figured it was Achilles right away. Did not initially on the first replay, right? Because when they showed the replay, it almost looked like they bumped knees. And then you see it again from the other angle, and there was clearly no contact. And he's writhing around, screaming in pain. And when I saw him getting wheeled to the back, I knew.
Yeah.
It sucks, man. Like, again, as much as I'm not as big of a fan of Tatum as you are, it's the worst thing about sports. I've always said this. Watching somebody injured is the worst thing about sports. It rips your guts out.
Yes. So for me, Jayson Tatum is at least a top 15 player, if not top 10.
Oh, he's definitely top 15. I never said he's not. Some people put him closer to 5. I think he's probably 9 or 10.
I argue he's closer to top 5, but we can have that discussion on a different day. And I don't think the Celtics would be as good if they didn't have Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown. They're better together.
Well, what I'm saying is we're about to find out.
Though I'll give Jaylen Brown his credit because he got a $300 million contract extension this offseason, and he put in that work in Game 5 alongside Derek White, who put up a surprising 34 points.
So can I say this? Part of me thinks the Knicks sort of just tanked the second half last night and was like, you know what, we played them close to the half. We want to end it at home. Kind of like the way Golden State did against Houston in Game 5, that they couldn't end it at home. We see teams do that all the time in the NBA when you're up in a series and you feel like you have control of just punting on that road game before you go back home. So I expect the Knicks, who, quite frankly, let's be honest, has for the most of this series been dominated quarter-wise besides the fourth quarter of these games, which is why they're up 3-2. I think the Knicks will play 48 minutes of hard ball, and I think at this point they have as much depth as Boston, and they are shooting as well as Boston, which surprises me.
Yeah. You can never count out the Knicks when they have the player who's now being labeled as Mr. Clutch, Jalen Brunson.
He's absolutely entered the superstar category. And Well, I'll have to think about who to take out, but he's absolutely entering that superstar category.